confirm. We know the burial is going on right now. And number two, we had a major incident, a fire incident in Katukera in Kibra today. We want to also just pass our pole to all those who have been affected by that fire. Having said that, we have invited you this afternoon to basically give our party position on why the Punguza Mzigo bill that has been proposed by the Third Way Alliance falls short of constitutional review expectations. It is a very detailed statement, and I beg that you be patient with us, and after we are done, we will be able to take questions on any matters that require clarification. So earlier this month, the IEBC announced that a proposed constitutional amendment bill sponsored by the Third Way Alliance Kenya had met and surpassed the threshold of 1 million signatures required to initiate an amendment of the Constitution by popular initiative, as envisaged under Article 257 of the Constitution of Kenya. From the onset, we note the complete departure by the IEBC from the precedent it set in signature verification for a similar process with the Okoa Kenya bill presented by the Code Coalition. It seems for the IEBC, that the IEBC will apply different standards for the same exercise depending on who is presenting the signatures. Indeed, grave concerns remain on whether the Third Way Alliance initiative met the required threshold, given that the IEBC still does not have a database of signatures against which it can conduct a verification. The Election Observer Group, ELOG, has in fact pointed out that an analysis of the signatures presented by the Third Way Alliance reveals mass duplication and raises doubts on the authenticity of those signatures. Given the serious implications of the IEBC's decision, we join ELOG in calling for the IEBC to publish all the signatures that were presented so that Kenyans can confirm their authenticity. It is also critical to point out that constitution making or amendment must always be people-driven and a result of the widest possible consultations with Kenyans of all walks of life, which Third Way Alliance did not bother to attempt. A proposal of a constitutional amendment through popular initiative has the option under Article 257 to put forth general suggestions in the first instance, whereupon the public and other stakeholders will have opportunity to input, to refine and enrich those proposals. Third Way chose to forego this particular stage and went straight to prepare a bill with their proposals, which bill was the basis for collection of the signatures. It is critical to understand that the bill, having been the basis of the collection of signatures, must either be passed or rejected as is, because the law does not envisage any amendments thereto. To be clear, no amendments, additions or subtractions can be made to the Punguza Mzigo bill at this stage. The option for Kenyans is to accept or reject it wholesomely. We cannot fail to point out that the motivation of this initiative appears to have been to scuttle the Building Bridges initiative, which the sponsor of the bill attempted to do through court actions, and this is a matter of public records. Having said that, we have taken time to study the bill and have found it problematic as it undermines the spirit of the very constitution it seeks to amend. It is full of contradictions and inconsistencies and would result in a chaotic constitutional order while not even living to its promise of lessening the burden on the mwananchi. We wish to specifically comment on the following proposals as contained in the bill. Number one, on the lightening of the burden, which is in the name of the bill, Punguza Mzigo. The bill claims to be targeting expenditure sites that burden the Kenyan public, but does not even mention the areas of real concern. The biggest cause of burden to the Kenyan taxpayer is debt, both domestic and foreign, which currently stands at 5.3 trillion shillings, which is 68.9% of our GDP. In the current financial year 2019-2020, the country will spend 1.1 trillion, which is 61% of annual revenue, in servicing our debt. It would have been helpful to propose mechanisms to control runaway borrowing, such as a requirement for parliamentary approval of all foreign borrowing. The debt is followed by corruption, where it is estimated that the country loses more than 600 billion shillings annually, which is about 10% of the annual budget or 30% of annual revenue collected through corruption. There is also estimated 200 billion lost due to uncollected revenues. The public wage bill has been cited as the biggest financial challenge facing the country. While it is a matter of concern, it is used more as a scarecrow to shield looting of public resources. Kenya's public wage bill as a ratio to GDP is 8.3 against a global average of 7.5%. Salaries, allowances and wages of legislators and parliamentary staff account for less than 30% of the 43.8 billion allocated in the 2019-2020 financial year, or shillings 13 billion, or 0.04% of the budget. While it is important to manage the wage bill, including for legislators, we need to tackle the problem holistically. Number two, on reversing of women's gains. The bill, as proposed by our court, seeks to delete Articles 100A and 177B, which promote representation of women in Parliament and county assemblies. It also seeks to abolish nomination in the National Assembly, County Assembly, and in the Senate. While it seeks to address the same in the National Assembly by proposing one woman per county, there are no mechanisms to realize the two-thirds gender rule in the county assemblies and the Senate. Going by the current status, these houses would be almost 100% male-dominated. This is a step backwards because from the current 97 women currently in Parliament, under our court's bill, this number drops to no more than 50. Number three, on the proposals touching on Parliament, the reconfiguration of Parliament is the most confusing and retrogressive. The following issues stick out. A, it is proposed to abolish the 290 constituencies and instead have the 47 counties turned into constituencies. Having parliamentary representation at county level goes against the dictum of no taxation without representation. Long-standing grievances of domination by larger tribes and clans in the past is what informed Kenyans' desire to review the constituencies in the 2010 Constitution. These fears were well captured in the CKRC report and the report of the Committee of Experts, and also well articulated during the Bomas process. Counties that are not mono-ethnic will see a return to long-forgotten tensions. Many small communities that currently have representation stand to be disenfranchised. For instance, we have the Sabaot in Bungoma, which is a Bukusu-dominated county. We have the Kurias and Luyas in Migori, which is a Luo-dominated county. We have the Tesos in Busia, which is also another Luya-dominated county. Kipsigis in Narok, which is a Ma-dominated county. The Tavetas in Taita Taveta, which is a Taita-dominated county. And the Mbeere in Embu County. And also the Banyore in Vihiga, which is a Maragoli-dominated county, to name but a few. B, the proposal to designate the Senate as upper house is not accompanied by concomitant redefining of the functions and powers of Senate and National Assembly. Without amendment of Article 95, the National Assembly will retain all the authority of enacting legislation, while the Senate will remain a participant as provided for under Article 96 of the Constitution. All the functions of appropriation of funds, oversight of state organs, and approval of declarations of war and extension of state of emergency remain intact within the National Assembly under Article 95. It is therefore not enough to just state that the Senate shall be the upper house. C, the bill proposes to give the Senate veto powers over the decisions of the National Assembly. This power resides currently with the President, and since our court's bill does not likewise amend Article 115 that gives the President power to refer bills back to the National Assembly, this proposal is a recipe for chaos. The justification for having the Senate to defend the interest of counties is also negated by making counties the electoral districts for the National Assembly. E, the proposal to reduce membership of the National Assembly and Senate 294 and 47 respectively, while